gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment.
Well, good Tuesday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Happy second Monday.
Tell them what they're in for.
We'll talk of the NBA Finals with, of course, and Durant. So the Knicks aren't pursuing him. And there is now a team that he is not wanting to play for. We'll get into that. Plus, Angel Reese came out. We'll have 24 kg after a pretty entertaining Monday Night Raw last night. And then we'll have to talk Ohtani. And not only Ohtani being, back on the pitching mound, but Ohtani's boy is incarcerated now. Ohtani is one of the two players leading in all-star votes. So it's a Ohtani segment a bit later. And we'll also, preview tonight's Stanley Cup. Was it Game 6?
Game 6.
Is it over tonight?
And it may very well be.
Well, we'll talk about that. You can text in, call in anytime, 661-842-2000. Let us know what you think about the finals last night, even Raw last night. What you think about the Stanley Cup, and even I know there's a lot of Dodger fans out there. What'd you think about Ohtani's one inning?
I still am baffled it was only one inning. Like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to throw out his shoulder. But one inning? One inning. I mean, 2 hits and an earned run. Didn't look terrible. There's already people on the internet saying he's cheating. There's already people on the internet saying, hey, he's grabbing his wrist a little too much there. It's like, guys, maybe he has a wrist thing. Maybe it's just a little, a ritual that he does. You want to calm down. Not every time someone's grabbing something are they cheating. So let's calm down on all that. The guy pitched 1 inning.
Well, that reminds me of the Nesmith. Is it Nesmith on the Pacers?
Naismith, yeah.
Or he travels every time he shoots a wide open 3.
Well,
but nobody talks about that.
So did James Harden with the step back.
Yes.
But we don't have to get into that either. Again, the gather step is a thing now in the NBA that
looks like a travel to me, but
well, I mean, in any other league, it is a travel. That's kind of the thing, is that even in high school, can't do that. It's not a thing, but apparently in the pros, it's a thing. So it's just like LeBron's crab dribble. You have to let it go after a while.
The extra hop that he gets.
Absolutely. But
now, while we're talking about that, because I know we're going to talk about Game 5 last night, but that Game 4 with SGA, did he travel at the end of that?
It doesn't really matter now, does
I know it doesn't matter, but that's
I meant like I get why you're asking.
I'm just wondering if does he get an extra hop?
Yeah, I mean, I think they all do. I think I genuinely believe now, especially, you have to call it across the board. So if you're a superstar specifically, you usually get lenient calls. And for everybody complaining about it, that's more why I say it doesn't really matter. Like, it was a game ago.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they won by more than 2 points.
Yeah.
So sure, wipe away that layup. Fine. They still won by 7.
Yes.
I'm sorry, they still won by 5.
7.
Well, they won by 7. If you take the 2 points away, they still win by 5. The only thing that changes is if you bet on the freaking Pacers, you win your money.
Only thing that happens is Bolt gets his money back.
Exactly. So does it really matter? No, it really doesn't matter. It genuinely does not, especially when you watch games like yesterday where, true, he still showed up. SGA still did his thing and probably got away with a travel or two. But then you got Jalen Williams dropping 40. And unfortunately for the Pacers, and I knew this was going to happen, the minute that I saw him go down, I knew this game was over. But when Halliburton went down with the leg injury, which still undisclosed, I believe, of what it actually is, and he said during the press conference, if he can walk, he wants to play. But 0 for 6, 0 for 4 from 3 for 4 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. That ain't gonna get it done, big guy. So you may need to step out of the way if you're injured, because I know he's the superstar of the team and this is the finals. So obviously you want him to push through, but are you going to be helping your team or are you going to be hurting your team by playing?
When did he get hurt? Because I got home.
It was early.
Yeah, because he was sitting on the bench when I got home.
I want to say it was in the.
It was in this. I was like
late
mid second
first,
quarter.
early second quarter.
Okay.
So it happened early. He got walked back to the locker room to get checked out. You could tell something was wrong. He was hobbling the entire way through. He came back to play though. He played 34 minutes. I mean, it just. I don't know how productive you're going to be, though, if you're going to be injured like this. So you got to get that figured out. You have a couple days, though, which is a good thing. The NBA giving you the extra day hopefully will be enough for Tyrese to be able to bounce back. And we'll see the usual Tyrese Halliburton in Game 6. And maybe they'll force a Game 7 to come back to Oklahoma. But I don't know. The minute I saw Tyrese Halliburton go down, I was like, oh, this game's over.
I mean, and Jalen Williams, I got to give him some props because he was taking some chops last night and really the whole series, but putting up 40 points. 14 of 25 from the field, and became the third youngest player to score 40 plus in a finals game. And SGA was not a slouch either. 31 points, 10 assists, marking his 15th 30-point game of the playoffs.
This guy is unreal at this point, but I agree with you. I mean, 70 points coming from the two of them alone, you're not beating the Thunder.
And that's why it sets up perfect for Norris Cole saying, pretty much they're unbeatable when both of these guys are going off like that.
Yeah, they're virtually unbeatable when they're playing at this level. Even if Halliburton was healthy, I still don't know if they win because Jay Will could have kept going, if the game called for it. Same with SGA. If the game would have called for them to do more, the way they were scoring, there was nothing that the Pacers could do to stop them tonight. And I was a part of the last time a young player scored that many points when Russell Westbrook, he was the second youngest to score 40. And I was there. They did it against us in the finals. And so to see him emerge like that, this was his moment. Last game was SGA's moment to take over in the fourth. This was his moment tonight to lead them to the next game. And this is what, I don't like to use this word lightly, but this is how dynasties start to become made.
So I'm glad he brought that up because it really made me start thinking about this while I was watching this game. Last year, we got the same kind of a situation when it came to Tatum and Brown. One would step up one game to really take over, and then the next game, the second one would take over that game. Do you think now in today's NBA, you need two superstars like this to be able to win a finals because you need them equally on separate games like this?
That's a good question. I would say, yeah.
Because when you really go down the line of who won each time, I mean, going back even to the Bucks when you had Giannis and Chris Middleton. Because if you remember watching those series, yes, Giannis got his points, but the games that they really took over are the ones where Chris Middleton was shooting the lights out.
Yep.
So I feel like in the NBA today, yes, you still need a lot of depth on your team, but now you need just two central superstars where you can sit there and just say, okay, which one of you is going to take over the game today?
And it's those key shots, the key points that, SGA could put up 30, 40 points, but without Jay, I mean, because those were big points. I mean, even when the Pacers started to get a run, Jay would hit that three on the side and that killed that one. And there was a couple runs. I believe it was in the third quarter when they cut it down to like 5. Even I think even got lower than that. And Jay, I mean, SGA will do his thing, but I was so happy because seeing the way SGA was playing, I think going back to your question, when SGA is trying to do everything on his own, they lose. And when he has somebody like Jay or even, Caruso or whoever is stepping in, and I have to give props to the Sloth because he looked a lot better last night. But yeah, I mean, definitely having that Scottie Pippen-esque, the second player that doesn't get, all the props and all the media love, but without what Jay Williams was doing last night, they probably would have lost that game.
Honestly, I agree with you. I'm not going to give credit to the Sloth at all, though, because I personally think he had an awful game. 4 for 15 with 9 points and 11 rebounds. Come on, give me a break. No. My only gripe against what Norris Cole said is if we had a healthy Tyrese Halliburton in this game, I do believe the Pacers win. Because let's take it into account, okay? Tyrese went 0 for 6, 0 for 4 for 3. Let's say he makes half his shots. So 2 3-pointers and a 2-pointer. That's 8 points right there. that automatically puts you within 3 points of this game. You can't sit there and tell me that wouldn't make a difference. And honestly, that if that's if Tyrese made half his shots. And if he's making half his shots, he would have shot more too. So it's
And
kind of a
Pascal would
vice
have shot
versa.
less.
Yeah, it honestly, it's a vice versa kind of thing. I know that what he's saying is, if the game called for it, obviously SGA and Jalen would have scored more. That's absolutely logical, and probably he's 100% true. Or I'm sorry, he's 100% factual. But in my personal opinion, that would also mean Tyrese, if he was healthy, would be doing the exact same thing. I would assume we would get better than 4 points. Tyrese is usually good for at least 18 to 20. So this game would be a completely different monster
Yeah,
if
of course.
Tyrese was healthy.
It'd have been a different game, but I mean, those key times of the game where he was sitting on the bench, I said, "Oh, this injury was real."
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's
Because when
why
there
I'm
was
concerned.
like 5 minutes left in the second half, he was sitting on the bench. When they were going on their runs, and I mean, even with the Pacers, I mean, they had some bench players that stepped up big yesterday,
Mhm.
and it was that Halliburton less that second star that they needed to get into that game. And post game, this was Halliburton talking after the game just about heading home with the 3-2 deficit.
The thought is, if you lose, the season's over. So our backs are against the wall. We take pride in playing at home in front of our fans, and our fans are amazing. So we know they're going to come out with a ton of energy, in Game 6. So we're going to have to be able to respond, be better, and look forward to the challenge. We got to take this a day at a time. Our backs are against the wall. I mean, you got to look at Game 6 like it's a Game 7. Losing is if you lose, your season's over. So we got to go in and take care of business. Just approach the game the right way. See if we can get better in film, and be ready to compete.
God, I'm still waiting for his voice to change.
That's funny because every time I hear
every time we
Halliburton,
hear a clip, I'm like sitting there waiting. All right, when the voice is going to change. Anyways, no, you know how simple these answers are for athletes too.
course.
But he's 100% right. This is a Game 7 for you, regardless. So it's a winner go home. But like we said the other day, I believe that the winner of this series was going to be the team to win 2 in a row. The Thunder just won 2 in a row. I do believe that we're going to get a Game 7, though. I think that we're going to get some fire out of the Pacers, at least for one more game, as we've seen from a lot of these other teams in these playoff series. But I think the Thunder wrap it up in 7. I'm just, again, like we said, very, very happy we got good basketball in this series, and it's lived up to every bit of its potential, in my opinion.
So I was talking to our boy Flail, who will be here Friday at 8, and he neither of us are Thunder or Pacer fans.
No.
We're just watching because we love basketball. And he said he was done with it. He said the officiating, and even he said, who was what's the chick's name? That's the announcer. He
Doris
said
Burke?
he said I just can't do it with her anymore. He said there was 2 or 3 times in the first half where she was saying that SGA, it was the bicker that goes on a lot when you're watching OKC, because the NBA, we've talked about it several times, how the NBA is always going to give the superstars the calls.
Mhm.
And there was 3 or 4 calls against the Pacers with SGA, like normal. Nothing changes.
Mhm.
But he said these fouls are just getting ridiculous, and he said, I'm over it. And I said, I get it, because towards the end of the NBA Finals is when I start thinking, oh, it's almost football season. It's almost football season. But he
See, you guys are thinking about football season. I'm
He-
making for baseball season.
see, All-Star game was in July, so we're almost there.
Well, again, I've been watching baseball. Y'all catch on when you want to.
Yeah, no thanks. I've got the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, and a year-round WWE. So
This is true.
I'm happy.
This is very true.
But let's take our break, and let's get back into some Durant talk, because there is now a team that he doesn't want to play for, like he has a chance or a choice.
Yeah, really.
Right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the early bird special, and we have a little bit more basketball news before we get into Otani Nation, because that's all anybody's talking about in the world of baseball.
And Judge?
Don't you start. You're not even you're not a Yankees fan. Let's
No.
not put that illusion out in the
I'm
world.
just-
No, I know you're. I know you're.
Yeah,
That's
I'm catching a
completely
bunch of texts for Tony.
Oh, good.
And before we get into the Durant stuff, we had the first text was Pacers will shock the world and win the next 2 games.
Look, man, it's nice to believe, but unless you have a 100% healthy Tyrese Halliburton, that is not happening. I apologize, but I hate to say that it's looking, the hope is fleeting, but it genuinely is, especially when Tyrese goes down with an injury like this. But
we talked a little bit about Durant yesterday and
Yes.
about the how the Knicks aren't showing any interest.
KD wanted the New York Knicks. He wanted to go there. The Knicks have no interest in bringing him in, which probably makes Knicks Nation, I don't know, probably quite interested in why not. I think these 3 choices are by default. He definitely doesn't want to go to Minnesota, but I think there's some fear from him and Rich Kleiman that they're hoping that there's going to be respect at Kevin's age to give him what he wants rather than try to trade him like he's 31 years old, which he's not anymore. I think they're trying to get a major haul, but they're hoping that they work with him and get it done.
again,
This is not a business.
I have heard many times that the reasons behind the Knicks not wanting Kevin Durant or wanting to be in the Kevin Durant talks is because they're still figuring out their coaching search and they don't know what the coach is going to want to do. I still think it's just the asking price. You're like Mark Spears just said, you're asking for a price that is probably closer to the value of a 31-year-old Kevin Durant, not a 37-year-old Kevin Durant who maybe has 2 years left, 3 at the most.
Yeah, I mean, Durant, his 1-year deal right now is $54.7 million that's still left on his deal. So, 1, the team that trades for him is going to have to cover that.
Yep.
And 2, if a team like the Knicks, which what you just said makes 100% sense, like why would you go big fishing and swap up that whole damn team to get a player like Durant, which I understand he's a superstar, but you've built this New York team by putting the pieces together, and it got you to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, with teams turning down head coaches, I understand that because they're building something. So, I mean, does that not why would you do that? First of all, why would you go do something like that when you don't have a head coach? And 2, if I'm the Suns, obviously I'm going to take the highest bidder.
Yeah. And honestly, well, the Knicks for me, it's just, I agree with you. Like, why would you blow up that roster after everything that's happened this season? They went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, do you really think you're that far off? Because if you do, I got a lot of questions about what you watched last year. I don't think you're that far off at all. But the idea that, I mean, Kevin Durant is a very, very enticing idea. Don't get me wrong. But again, everybody needs to remember that this is a 37-year-old Kevin Durant. And you'll still get a solid 26 a night from him, maybe 30 if he's on a good night. But is this really the missing piece for the Knicks to get them to the championship? I don't think so. And especially with what you're going to have to give up to get him, it's not going to make sense because you're either going to have to give up probably Mikal Bridges and a whole bunch of other people or Karl Anthony Towns and some other pieces plus draft capital. And how much are you actually willing to give up for a 37-year-old player who is on the outskirts? Now, my biggest, what I saw was funny was yesterday we're sitting here talking about who we think is the best idea for him to go to in terms of the league. And we both agreed it was the Minnesota Timberwolves. KD came out yesterday, says he has no desire to play for the Timberwolves at all. He does not want to go to Minnesota. Not that he has a choice. He has no trade clause. And really wherever Phoenix wants to trade him is where he's going to have to go. But that now being a factor in him coming out and saying he has no interest in playing for the Timberwolves, you have to wonder if that themselves is going to take them off the board, because I don't know if you are the Timberwolves and you want to trade for a guy who vocally just said, I'm not playing for you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's taking a big risk. They've been the most aggressive team so far to try to get Durant, which I don't understand. There's probably some inside stuff or some coaches that he doesn't want to play for.
Or maybe him and Ant just don't get along.
Maybe that too. But I mean, on paper, as a NBA fan, it would look like,
really cool.
That'd be cool to see. But like you said, Durant came out yesterday and said he has no interest in playing in Minnesota, and trading those type of assets for a player who doesn't want to be there could backfire real quick.
Well, and also you now have just shrunk the trade stock for you from 5 to 3. Because the main 5 teams that we have heard that have been pursuing him have been the San Antonio Spurs, the Rockets, the Knicks, the Timberwolves, and I'm drawing a blank on the 5th one right now. I cannot remember, but the main 4 or 2 of those main 5 are now off the board. So you're really making it difficult for the Knicks for the Suns to find a possible suitor for you. And I don't know exactly how well this is going to go for you in the next couple of weeks, because again, no trade clause is not a factor here. So they could send you wherever the heck they want to. They could send you to Timbuktu for nothing. Now they're not going to. They're going to want to get a lot out of this, but the Suns have to, levy their asking prices, because I'm sure they're asking for way too much.
Yeah, and I know Durant later in that conversation did say he preferred the Heat, Rockets, or the Spurs.
That's the third team I was trying to think of.
I mean, I'm leaning towards the Miami Heat just because I know they're going to have to get rid of one of those 2 core players that they have.
That's a good pick.
I was like, go ahead, do it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm leaning on Hero, because hopefully Hero's been the Bulls killer for me. But I would, one, you're getting an older Durant, and
Right.
2, you're going to spend a lot of money that you're not going to be able to fill that bench.
Is it Miami Miami and Tampa are usually the 2 places that that athletes like to go to end their careers? So it would make a lot of sense. But
I wouldn't want him with the Spurs, just because that's a younger team, and I think they have a future with these younger players. And to see them try to blow up something that they're building on.
I want the Spurs to get Giannis. I want the Spurs to get Giannis really bad. I don't know why, but the thought of Giannis and Victor playing together
that'd be awesome. But do you see Giannis with Ant, or Giannis to New York as another choice?
I mean, I don't think New York should be trading for anybody
until they have a head coach.
I think,
they better jump on it quick.
But they need to get that figured out first. But I don't think you blow up this roster. I think you take a page out of the Pacers book, as weird as it is to say. The Pacers got exactly where you got last year. Just take a page out of their book, run it back, figure out what pieces you need off the bench to fill the holes that you need. Maybe draft 1 or 2 shooters to fill these like lackluster players that you have that you don't need anymore, and just run it back. I really don't think you need to trade for Giannis or for KD. It's not necessarily that I don't want to see either of them play there. It's just more of, I think you have the talent to really get to the finals. All you have to do is put it together. You beat Boston. Like, honestly, and if you played Cleveland, there's no reason to believe you could not have beaten Cleveland.
Yeah, with
on paper, they could be just as good as Cleveland up and down the board. But again, we won't know until next year. But at this point, I don't think you need anything. I think you just run it back with the pieces you have, make sure everybody's happy and content with the new head coach, and you figure it out. But if I'm somebody looking for Kevin Durant, now that Minnesota's off the board, I have to say that the Heat are the one team to me that fit the best, because just they need a superstar. He's an aging superstar, and it gives them 2 to 3 years to figure out what they want to do after that. Plus, it's just in Miami's MO to do something like this. They've done this in the past, so it just makes sense. Giannis, I love the idea of Giannis going and playing either for the Spurs or the Rockets. More the Spurs, though. Yeah. I don't know why. I like the idea of him and Victor playing together.
That would be intense.
And honestly, I think that's a championship contender right there, especially with De'Aaron Fox at point guard. You have Castle, if you don't have to end up trading him and potentially the number 2 overall pick or the number 14, whichever one you end up with.
Yeah, that makes sense. And before we get away from basketball, I had to bounce this off you because yesterday was the first time I heard me bounds.
That was the first time you'd ever heard of Me Bound?
Yeah, I never.
Oh, that's
I don't.
awesome.
I
I
don't
didn't know
watch
that.
a lot of WNBA, but I'm starting to because I am one of the only fans I know of that like Angel Reese.
Oh, don't worry. You'll learn sooner or later. She'll
But
let you down again. She'll let you down eventually.
shortly after you said that, I saw the story that now she is trademarking me bounds.
Good for her. Honestly, I saw this story too, and I say good for her. And her quote for it too is what kind of got me. She, paraphrasing here, I'm not saying it verbatim, but essentially she said, whoever the heck made this term, I've given you plenty of time to do whatever the heck you need to do to patent and or copyright it. You didn't do so. So I'm going to take it for me and I'm going to lean into this and, make all of you love me because of it. And I think that's great. Like for all of the criticism I gave her yesterday, again, I don't give credit to a fish for swimming.
Uh-huh.
I expect this from you. But for this move right here, copywriting me
She's
bounds,
savvy.
that's awesome. I love that. Lean into that, girl. That's awesome.
I did see her TikTok video where she's saying that y'all ate, but what the me bounds concept and noting that it could be worth 6 figures,
Yeah,
and
it
I
can.
would not doubt it.
Absolutely, it can. And honestly, and think of it this way. What if she does turn her season around and her entire career around and just becomes a triple-double magnet from here till the end of time? She could easily use the me bound concept as like a motivational thing.
Oh, you'll hear it in commercials. You'll
Oh,
hear it everywhere.
absolutely. Instead of she's like, I got me. I'm a me bound kind of a thing. Like this is a money, like whoever the heck came up with this concept, the fact that you didn't patent this,
Yes.
shame on you because you're missing out on all this money.
Yes, you're missing out.
But for her, this is awesome. I love that. I love the idea.
Well, we'll take our break and we'll get into the Otani talk because we've already got some text. If you have some comments, feel free to text them in 661-842-2000. We are the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. We got to get into a little bit of baseball because Dodger fans are reaming already at Sparky. They're not very happy.
All right. Bring it on.
Well, let's start with the best part about this. Dodgers won last night 6-3 over the Padres in game 1 of their series against the Padres. Game 2 tonight, 7-10. Enjoy. Shohei Ohtani, the Babe Ruth of baseball at the moment. First time ever pitching for the Dodgers, took the mound to start this game. Only lasted an inning. I say only because personally, I was hoping for a little bit more. I was hoping for at least 2 to 3, but we got 1. But for those of you who were texting Sparky yesterday saying that he looked good, here's the thing. 2 hits, 1 earned run for 28 pitches, no Ks. Not look good. I'm sorry. Not that he looked awful.
Yeah.
He just looked like a guy who was rusty. Now, is he going to be the Ohtani of old? Of course. He looks great. The pitches are all there. And honestly, the internet's already saying he's cheating, which is ridiculous. But let's calm down on that.
He hit 100.
But again, he looked solid in terms of his pitches, but the pitch count, no Ks. He just looked a little rusty. Plus, you're going against the Padres, so I kind of expected you to be, getting rung up a little bit. 1 earned run, though, I'll give you that. That's pretty solid. I just expect a little bit more. I want a little bit more. And I'm going to say this because this is for those of you who are watching the video stream right now and noticed that I had a little bit of a light bulb moment at the end of the break or before the break there. My idea of him being your closer looks a lot better when he only goes 1 inning, doesn't it? Just throwing that out there. But Sparky, what are your thoughts?
What I saw, I mean, I was happy that they pulled out the win. I'll just say that because I think the story would have looked a lot worse if they didn't win that game. But I mean, you said it, and was it 21, 22 months since he's pitched?
Oh yeah. So it's like
in a real game,
understandable to look the way he looked.
And they definitely needed him because the pitching, we've talked about 14, 15 pitches that are pitchers that aren't playing right now. And I mean, I'm happy to it's perfect timing. You'll probably pull me in to watching more baseball now because Ohtani and pretty much with the trade the day before. And I mean, I know Boston won yesterday, but I mean, it's going to be entertaining. That's what I'll say.
All I'm saying is Dodger fans, be fair about this. Be across the board. If this was any other pitcher who went 28 pitches in 1 inning for 2 hits and an earned run, including Tanner Scott, who most of you have reamed for this, let's be fair about this. It didn't look great. But there's hope. Obviously, he's Shohei Ohtani. He's going to be back on the mound for you. And hopefully next time he pitches 1 inning, it's within 12 to 15 pitches.
Yes. Well, this is what Dave Roberts had to say on Ohtani being back.
I thought it was great. Obviously, we gave up a run, but I thought the stuff was really good. Much better as far as the fastball velocity than I think anyone anticipated. Hit 100. I was thinking 95 to 97, but I think that just a competitor adrenaline came out in him. And they built an inning. I thought he made some really competitive pitches, but overall, just really positive day for us. And, today, I don't think it affected his offense. And like I said before the game, tomorrow we'll be telling to see how it feels as far as fatigue. But I thought overall pretty exciting.
And I mean, the Dodgers are planning to gradually build up his innings, obviously. And Dave did mention that he'll probably be back on in, about a week, and they'll throw him in rotation. Hopefully we get more than an inning, though.
That's what I'm assuming you're going to get is with each game, you will most likely build up about 2 to 4 to 5, something like that. And he's going to look like the Shohei of old. He really is. Like I've seen flashes of it, obviously, yesterday. The 100-mile-an-hour pitch was really cool to see. But again, if I'm on the Dodgers organization, I'm looking at him saying, hey, that was nice and all, but can you calm down? We just got you back. I don't want you throwing out your shoulder in the first inning. So it's a good thing to see, though. I'm not sitting here trying to be a skeptic or trying to, throw shade on Shohei in any way, shape, or form. And offensively, obviously, he was great because he was 2 for 2 in runs and scoring position hits. So it obviously didn't affect him there in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying, for you Dodger fans who are going out there saying he looked good, and then calm down. Like, he looked solid. I give that a C at best. Let's not sit here and say that he looked good. He looked solid,
Oh,
especially
my
for a man
gosh.
who hasn't pitched in over a year. So I will give him that. Like, it looks solid, but we need to see more. Like, jury's still out for me.
So the listener said Otani did better than I expected, minus a pitch that Will Smith should have had,
Mhm.
and Page should have caught that ball. But I'm excited for the future. So
Absolutely.
that sounds
That's-
like a good.
That
Dodger
is a
fan.
rational Dodger fan. I could sit there and believe in that. See, that's what I'm saying. There is hope for the future. Did he look amazing? No, but he looked solid. I give it a C plus. Like, at C at worst, C plus at best. But that's where I'm putting you right now. Until I could see a solid 3 to 4 innings out of you, I can't. Or my jury is still out.
What was the haters saying? There,
Oh, so I don't know. There are people on the internet that
Of
watch
course.
baseball and continuously just watch baseball solely to find people cheating in baseball. It's the dumbest thing in the world, really, in my opinion. But there are people going around on the internet right now who are saying that Shohei had some sort of substance on his wrist because while he was pitching, he would go to his wrist under his glove and wrap his hand around it and like move in a certain way. So they were believing that he was putting a substance on his finger to make it easier to throw pitches. Again, let's calm down on that. It's not everybody is cheating, and there's no reason to believe that he's cheating. If it gets to that point, then we'll talk about it, but it's not that big of a deal, guys. It's one inning. One inning in which, again, he got hit and a run came in. So let's relax. It's not that big of a deal. My biggest thing is let him develop into the pitcher he used to be if you're going to want him to be a starting pitcher.
well, we've got some more news out of Otani, but the Aaron Judge and Otani are now the clear front runners. Big surprise on the first round of All-Star voting.
Eh,
Which isn't a big surprise.
No.
Judge is what, 1.5 million votes. Otani is 1.3, close to 1.4. So I was going to ask you, just because I've never voted into the All-Star voting, but it says it's stage 1 of voting.
mhm.
So it says, the All-Star game is mid-July in Atlanta this year, and fan voting is in stage 1 until June 26th. After which the top 2 at each position move on to a runoff to determine the starters. So I'm guessing this is something new, maybe.
Again, to be honest with you, from what I understand, is it's very much like everything else or everybody else's All-Star game where fans were able to vote in on their favorite players and all that, which is where the millions of votes come from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it goes down to a situation where just so players don't get taken in popularity only, like it'll be the ballots will be looked at and say, okay, Mia and Mia are worthy of being on the team, kind of a thing. I believe that's how it works.
And then that's how they break down who's starting.
Yeah, exactly. And this,
So
well,
it's
the
not
starters are usually the person that just gets the most votes in their area. So if it's somebody, but usually the person that gets the most votes anyway is the best player
Yeah.
at the position that year.
Yeah.
So it's always your Judges, your Shoheis, your
So it's not like the NFL with the year where like Tebow.
exactly. Like
Was
they try to
voted in.
dodge that unless it's like a really cool story and the person's doing pretty well in the season. And I think that's basically what it boils down to.
That makes sense.
So again, I am not the best to ask that question though, because like everybody else, I just vote for my favorite players and hopefully they get in. But albeit I'm a Philly fan, so Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper are usually pretty much locks every year.
Of course. But we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we've got some more news out of Otani. Really not Otani, but his boy that was popped making bets.
I forgot about
He
that.
is he's finally incarcerated. He's finally serving his time. Plus, we've got some news out of the Men's College World Series, a no-hitter yesterday that we'll get into right after this break. And don't forget, you can text in anytime, 661-842-2000. And we are video streaming on our Early Bird Special YouTube channel and Twitch, right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. It's not usually the Limp Bizkit song I hear.
It's more of a pump me up, wake me up.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm playing Limp Bizkit before 8 in the morning,
Usually rolling break stuff.
see, I can play those just because that's what everyone. Those are
I
the
know
ones that,
that it's traditional. I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to. I'm
I
just.
just remember this album. That was one of the only. I liked Limp Bizkit when they first came out, Faith and all that.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, dude, are they gonna go all media? And like,
You know what's funny is they really have it, but look, they're the most
hated.
They're
For no
hated
reason,
on.
dude.
They are the most hated on new metal band, that's for sure. But when you look at them on stage,
Dude, they're badass live.
I know, but like you look at them and you're like, this is the most random band of misfits I've ever seen in my life. But it just works.
Yes.
It works all the way.
I mean,
through.
I know when Eminem did his diss track, everyone just started hating him. Hated him
Dude,
so bad.
Yeah, because it's popular to hate them. They also made it popular to hate on Juggalos too. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah,
a little
you-
worse in my opinion.
Trying to pick your fights correct next time.
Exactly.
But I got to see him with the Anger Management tour with Eminem before all that crap
Which
happened.
is the funny thing about it. They
It
went
was
on
a
tour
great
together.
It was a
Like,
great show, and I think that's where it started. But I hadn't seen him probably 10, 15 years, and they performed at Aftershock a year or two ago, and Fred came out as a cowboy,
yeah. I
all
remember seeing
dressed
that
in a
video.
cowboy. And Wes, dude, I have to give props to Wes Borland because he is one of the best guitar players live that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of shows. But going back to Otani's boy, well, he's in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, serving his 57 months. And the more I read this story, dude, I know there was over $17 million that he had stole from Otani.
Mhm.
But dude, there was over 19,000 illegal bets.
Mhm.
Wow.
Ipe Mizuhara is the man we're talking about right now. His former interpreter, if you don't know the story, that was busted a year ago for making sports bets under Otani's name, taking millions of dollars from Otani, not allowing Otani to know. Like he was telling Shohei that he was taking these things for necessary like engagements and fees and stuff that you were supposed to pay. And he essentially turned around and used that on sports bets for himself. Claims that Shohei had no idea, but the internet says differently.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty ironic that the day he went in to start his entire thing, his sentence, I should say, is the same day Shohei begins as a pitcher for the Dodgers. Like, sports has a really weird way of coming full circle. And this is one of the weirdest ways I've ever seen.
Hopefully you got to watch it
I mean,
during chow time or something. But
maybe, who cares? I don't really. I mean, regardless if the story is true or not, this guy is an absolute POS. If he did steal from Shohei and abuse Shohei and used his trust in a way like that, I say good riddance to the guy.
Yep.
And I don't feel for him whatsoever. Like, I don't feel for people like this at all. If you're a scammer, you're the lowest form of person on the planet to me. Like,
Yep.
you are
Up there with-
terrible.
Yep.
Like,
100%.
I don't care for you. So this entire situation I thought was just a little ironic, but it's good to see that he started his sentence 57 months, which is 4 years and 4.75 years. So 4 years, 9 months.
If he does the full thing.
Yeah, if he does the full thing, which
Mhm.
I don't know. That's a lot of money. So I would assume that the government's going to say, yeah, you're going to be sticking around for a good long time.
You would think.
I would hope, but
Keeping
is
it
what it is.
in baseball, the Arkansas pitcher Gage Wood threw the third no-hitter
Gage
in
Wood
men's
pulled a
college
Kerry
World
Wood.
Series.
oh my gosh, this game was cool. 19 strikeouts. 19.
It's the first since 1960.
19 of the 28 batters he saw. And I say 28 because he hit one of them in the ninth inning. And that's why this wasn't a perfect game. I got here to the station when it finally ended. And I remember it popping up on my phone and just being like, oh, that's awesome. And like telling the Kerr show behind me. And the entire idea of this guy going out there, 19 strikeouts in a game is incredible in itself. But to
7
do this
in a row
at the College World Series, first one to do it since 1960, and third to do it since 1950.
Yep.
And it's something you don't see. Like, I mean, honestly, you never see stuff like this in baseball. But for it to happen on the biggest stage, I hope this really catapults this kid in terms of draft stock too, because I would love to see this kid's story continue in the majors.
And I just found out we will be covering the men's College World Series starting on hold on 1 second. Hold on, Saturday, 3:45, game 1, Sunday, game 2 at 11:15. And if needed, Monday would be game 3 with the game starting at
Fantastic.
4:15 right here on ESPN Bakersfield, your home of all things sports.
I know Coastal Carolina has punched their ticket into that.
Right now, bracket 1 is Oregon State, Coastal Carolina, Louisville, and Arizona. Bracket 2 with Arkansas, what we just talked about, LSU, UCLA, and Murray State.
I believe Arizona has already been knocked out. If I'm not mistaken, I have to double check that right now because a couple of the games have gone through. They started last week. But regardless, it's going to be a really cool thing to see continue. And for it to happen again on the world stage as it did in the College World Series is just awesome. I hope this guy continues to pitch as well as he has. And like I said, Gage Wood, pull a Kerry Wood. And that's the first thing I thought of when I saw his last name was Wood. I was like, oh, please tell me this guy is related to Kerry Wood. Please tell me this would be so cool. No, he's not. There's no relation whatsoever as far as I can tell. But it's just one of those situations where it's like, oh, please come full circle like that. Like have this be some sort of nephew of his, and then he's just as good as his uncle, and we're just starting. That'd be awesome. I love that. I don't know. We were just talking about fathers and sports and stuff like that.
Which was cool is he gave the game ball to his dad for Father's Day.
And that was pretty cool. But a person that we left off of our list that I'm actually disappointed in both of us, Sparky, Gary Payton and his son, Gary Payton Jr.
Right.
Although not a superstar in the league,
we didn't.
We show him love.
Scottie Pippen.
Scottie Pippen as well, and his son. Michael and his sons, although Michael's sons didn't do very well at all, but they played college ball at least. This is the Early Bird Special, though. We'll be right back with our boy 24KG and give you your raw rundown for the week. We will be right back here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special, Hour 2 on this Tuesday, so you know what time it is.
You really gonna start us off with that? Really?
I know you're gonna bring it up, so
We'll get to it, but since we're leading off with it, hello, gentlemen. Nice to see you on this Tuesday night after one of the most trash brawls
I enjoyed it.
that we have seen in a while.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad somebody did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full of hate.
Yeah. Just a little dissatisfaction with the product right now, but hey, I'm only one man, and that opinion does not matter.
Well, you know what's funny is I'm glad we're starting with Goldberg because
Goldberg!
I saw something that made me laugh. I have to bounce off you because I know you're a distaste not only for Goldberg but for AEW as well. What's built better right now? WWE's great or the main event with Goldberg in Atlanta, or AEW's All In Texas?
I'd have to say the lawsuit pending against AEW is built way better than both of those situations in comparison.
Really?
Chris. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. If you guys want to look that up, go ahead, look that up. AEW
One
does
of
not
these days.
comment on pending legal situations.
One of these days, I'm going to get you to get some positive feedback.
Oh, hey, no, I got some positive feedback for you. If WWE keeps up this trash, it's going to draw people to watch
my
AEW. So let's
Lord.
keep our fingers crossed
What are you
for
talking
all of
about,
those
dude?
guys over there.
What?
are
Okay,
you
so what
talking
part
about?
of this are you angry about?
All right,
What
so
do
let's-
You got our
let's-
truth back. Jeez, calm down.
Let's just kick it off with the AJ Styles and
Dominic Mysterio situation.
yes, for the Intercontinental title. Great. That is a great look for the product. Great look for that mid-card title. Great look for both of those athletes involved. JD McDonough getting a breakout, let's just say match on his own. That was a good look for the show last night.
Fair.
You know, but then we move on to something we spoke about briefly earlier, Kyrie Sane and Liv Morgan. Hey, prayers out to Liv Morgan. Nobody wants to see any of these
Dislocated
athletes,
shoulder.
yeah, get hurt. Nobody wants to see that. But
I thought it was an elbow.
I think
I think it's both.
we're waiting on a report right now via WWE and their physician staff on the severity of her dislocated shoulder injury. This could last up to 16 weeks.
Yeah, I heard this one. He was past the women's deal and
Yeah.
SummerSlam.
So now if it's that bad, we're looking at an imminent return for a huge pop for Liv Morgan via Royal Rumble sometime. But unfortunately, as I've stated, I believe that those women's tag team championships are cursed. Whoever holds them ends up in a world of crap. And
Again,
it's just really not fair to the athletes to say that. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen anything done really with those women's tag team titles other than just be an eyepiece for the holder. Now, with that match, how it went, this is the second injury involving Kyrie Sane, which is going to put some eyes on her to make sure she's working smoother and a lot safer with the people she has in the ring. These people that they are in the ring with each other, they are trusting their lives with the person they are across from. So we just hope a speedy recovery for her. Now, just to jump to another segment before we get to the main one, that was trash. Absolute hot garbage. Becky Lynch and Bayley. I'm sorry, bro. I don't know what you're watching, if we're watching the same thing, but I had no feeling, no connection, no interest to that. And a lot of opinions were similar to it, but a little bit more worse that I can't sit here and describe on air. I think the back and forth between them was dropped horrendously. They kept each other's promos alive, and that's great because, hey, they were looking at each other's scripts or whatever it is in the back. It just didn't work. It didn't feel smooth. It wasn't authentic. It translated on TV as crap. And for those two to be veterans, and I highly respect their work, I felt like, do they know what they're doing? Did somebody just give them last-minute script changes, or are they freestyling this? Did they get trusted to go out? Yeah, did they get trusted to just go out and wing it? Like, who the hell does that crap these days? When the product is at its most visually, like, recognizable, they're giving us some hot BS. Like, seriously, we've been spoon-fed some real good stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I've been spoiled. I've been sitting back, belly getting fat off the product, like, yes, give me more, Triple H. But no, I gotta say, I don't like that. That tasted like doo-doo. You know, I don't know what real doo-doo tastes like, but, you know, critiquing doo-doo was not something that I wanted to smell last night. I was like, I smelled The Rock cooking. It's absolute hot garbage.
It definitely looked like they were freestyling. They fumbled all over, but yeah, I think they definitely stretched that one. I'm not a big fan of Bailey, but I totally agree with that section. But I mean, I even thought the beginning of Raw.
It cooked. It cooked. I'm gonna keep
No,
it.
I
No,
didn't
wait.
like the beginning of the Raw either.
The fatal 4-way with the women.
Oh no, I'm talking about the beginning.
Oh yeah,
of
Oh,
Raw.
he's talking about the Dom and Liv
Look,
promo.
Some of those segments, I don't know who's writing, but I see where the argument for Brian Gewirtz to be brought in becomes more valid with segments they put on like this.
Do you think it is that they are allowing these veterans like Bailey or Liv or them to kind of freestyle or kind of, here's an outline, do your thing with it?
Yeah, no problem. Carlito even said that's kind of what's going on right now in one of his interviews with Busted Open Radio.
So maybe they pull it back.
Yeah,
go back to the writing.
Yeah, maybe they should just stick to the script a little bit more. Instead of, hey, why don't you just, go Bailey this up, or why don't you go Becky this up? They could F that up, because honestly, I don't know what is up right now.
Well,
Somebody ask R-Truth what's up. We can't because he's Ron Killings.
I say, and I did see that they're gonna keep continuing to call him R-Truth, even though he's going with his name. But
no, I don't. They'll switch it up as soon as the new intro.
This man is displaying clear signs of someone with dissociated personality disorder, and I'm all here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for schizophrenic R-Truth.
I don't think it's schizophrenia. I think he's just he's taking it seriously. He's just like, you know what? I've been the joke character for long enough. He addressed it in the promo.
Yeah,
he's like, R-Truth is the funny one. R-Truth is my joke character.
How long
I'm
until
not
he starts
joking
talking
anymore.
to himself again, or he's going back and forth between R-Truth, or somebody finds it funny and creative to actually get him locked up and get a mental eval? We've seen this kind of stuff on WWE before in the past.
I totally
That's more
understand.
Vince, though.
Yeah, that's more Vince era stuff, and I don't think we're going back to that.
But I almost missed the old man, don't you?
No,
not at all.
No.
Oh, yeah, it ain't that bad, folks.
Overall, I still think the Raw was good. I will agree with you though when it comes to the promos and the voice work. I was fast forwarding through some of that, but matches overall, I'm loving these 4-way matches, and like you said about JD, that was a hell of a match.
Yeah, they let them cook. They gave them the time to cook, build up the women's PLE that was coming. I mean, the match with Asuka was awesome. And I'm not trying to sound like a geek or nothing, but I was really digging her face paint.
Yes.
Bro. Like every time she come back, is pumped. That right there? I'm like, come on, that's gonna sell more masks. That's good. Her merch is not a problem.
They're doing so well with the talent, because this is a couple matches in a row, especially with the women's division, where I'm almost rooting for everyone in the match.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who wins, really. I'm liking them all.
It's really good to see that the focus on the women's division right now is kind of something that they're just not heavily pouring into us all of a sudden. They've been building towards this PLE for a while, 2 years, in fact, I believe, since the last all women's PLE.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought we were still on King and Queen of the Ring. Yes, no, Evolution. It's been at least 2 years.
Yeah. So with this being foreshadowed right now, while we have King and Queen of the Ring, it's awesome to put all like Ivy now, a beast in the ring, bro.
Which I'm so happy they're finally giving her that push, because
beast.
For a long time she's kind of just been fading into the background of this women's division.
Yeah.
And with so many great wrestlers coming up like Stephanie and stuff like that, it kind of made you wonder if she was going to be able to stick around that long.
I hope she can hold a mid card at some point in her career. I don't know when, if at all it's going to happen, but she deserves it, rightfully so. She reminds me of a Natalya, very safe, highly skilled, and just incredible to watch with some of the moves she puts on display.
I almost thought she was going to pull that match out last night too.
Hey, seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if you see her upset one of our favorite or more established superstars in the future.
Eventually she's going to have to, because you have to build up American Made at some point.
I think they end up giving her a spot almost like Lash Legend picking up Otis or something like that.
Yeah, something to show off her strength.
Something phenomenal.
It's got to be Piper.
Yeah,
Piper is the only one that's like the same.
Right there.
Of the same, like, she's the giant of the group. Like she plays the big person so well, and like she's one of those people that you just don't see get lifted very often
because she's a powerhouse.
Yeah,
bro.
So it's like if you show off her strength against someone like Piper, it would make her look so much better.
I think what we have to do honestly, as fans, sometimes, we come in here. Well, I come in here, dialed up because I'm so ready to talk about the product or how we feel about it.
You feel better now, by the way? You notice how I kind of just gave you 10 minutes just to get it off your chest?
No.
They should push more of the Rhea and Raquel, because that's the one I'm really looking forward to.
That's coming very
and
soon.
then we still have waiting in the wings Jordan Grace and others like her that are going to spend a little extra time in NXT just cooking before we get them on out there for everybody to consume on this national.
I'm glad you brought up the Rhea and Raquel thing, because now with the Liv injury, she's most likely not going to be a part of the Evolution PLE like everybody planned her to be, because they were definitely building a tag match with her and Raquel against Nikki Bella, and I was hoping her sister Brie, but I'm also now thinking that Rhea might have filled that other spot just to kind of give Nikki somebody to tag with. But what do you think the direction is now?
Okay. What I'm thinking about that direction right now has nothing to do with the women's division. Well, excuse me, the women involved in that storyline. What I'm thinking of, how great is this for Dominic Mysterio? Let me point something out. Spark, Chris, the last time Dominic Mysterio's girlfriend got hurt, it was Rhea Ripley. And then Liv Morgan came up. And now we have Roxanne Perez. This man is on an unbelievable streak of the hottest competitors having some type of storyline interaction with him. I'm sorry. What I see is the Freebird rule happening right now in the Judgment Day. We don't strip them of those women's tag team titles. We have Roxanne step up and say, Freebird rule. I'm going to defend these with Raquel. And boop, there we go. Dom's new main squeeze. Liv comes back after injury, beats her, and possibly kicks the crap out of Roxanne. Dumps Dom. Hey, we've got a self-made storyline ready to happen right now.
I totally get that, but more about the PLE side of it. Who's stepping into those roles?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I would have to give it more so towards, since we can't have Liv involved, just slide Roxanne in there, because if it's going to be something with the Bellas and relieving Roxanne and Liv, well, injured or not, off of those belts, it's going to make sense, because why not give the Bellas one last good run? Everybody's getting a run. Goldberg's getting one. R-Truth's getting one. Might as well get it out the way and then set up something new after this women's PLE for a tournament or whatever. We know the Bellas aren't going to stick around for long and defend those. If they do, that's cool, but nobody's trying to relive puberty.
Well, I don't know, dude, because from what they've been really showing us is that nostalgia is where they want to lean.
Nostalgia is one hell of a drug. You see how Hollywood is burnt out on it.
We're back in 2006. Rusev is back. John Cena has a championship. Nikki Bella is back, potentially. Her sister's back. I'd venture to say Triple H is literally capitalizing on nothing but nostalgia.
Well, you know what? If that's the case, can we bring back those Fruitopia vending machines we had in high school? Those were awesome. Because 2006, man, those things were everywhere, bro. I'm just saying.
I mean, those fatal four-ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we had more of those, because those matches, especially the one you just brought up, the men's one last night, was fire.
My God. Okay.
And I find myself in the same situation. I'm like, I could see any of these guys pulling this win off. And how they ended Raw with pretty much half the roster coming out,
which was pretty cool. Honestly, the stare off between Jay and Cody, I could have done without, but I understand what part it plays in the story,
setting up SmackDown.
Exactly. So before we get to that, something I want to address here with you guys now. A lot of memes circulating with Gunther and Goldberg that are historically referencing things that just might be offensive. So let's not get caught up in all that.
No Third Reich, please.
Yeah, let's not do all those, SS jokes and, mocking the guy's face on World War II soldier uniforms and stuff. There's enough hate out there in the world. Like what this segment was. It brought enough hate out of me to tell you that I hate Oldberg.
Yeah, I'm not.
All the nostalgia, all the drip, all the aura that used to be this man is crap. Excuse me, I almost got caught up right now.
What's the nostalgia?
Bro, I mean, seriously.
It's going to sell tickets for that Saturday night's main event, and I'm glad that they put it on Saturday night's main event.
Thank you. And not a big time PLE, because, dude, I feel for the guy. I feel it's all going to happen to us one day. but we got to know when to say no. We got to know when to stop. He's hurt himself all throughout his training. He could barely walk out there. He was limping. I was afraid when he was doing his warm-up, he was going to slip, fall, and bust cheeks again. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. He made it out to the ring. It seemed like he was gassed. You know, he never has ever followed script on a promo in his entire career. What makes you think he's going to follow it now? Gunther did a great job of selling everything, selling the intimidation, selling the shock factor. You know, I was just like, what stroke does this man have to be brought back to the WWE right now and take a spot from somebody who's earned that? And I'm not saying this about Jey Uso's run. I think it was cool. You know, everything has its time and all that. He'll get another shot and whatnot. But they could have done this before Gunther gave up the strap to Jey Uso. Maybe Goldberg wasn't ready. Who knows? I don't know. It's just my opinion. Really doesn't matter. But the fact that they put this trash on international television has me shocked, appalled, disgusted, disappointed, a whole bunch of things that I couldn't name right now. But at the end of the day, I sat back and I had to think, what was the purpose of this? Why would this can't just be for a retirement match. This is something else. And hopefully that inkling of a feeling that I have leads to something bigger that plays out in Gunther becoming a face or something like that. Because right now I'm confused as hell, Chris. All right.
That's good writing.
I'm confused as hell. Yeah, good writing.
That's good
because
writing.
It's got me frustrated up the wall.
Yeah. You can tell.
I'm like, who let this man?
Dude, people love Goldberg. That's why.
In Atlanta?
Yeah.
We in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guess where that
It's
PLE is?
I know it's in Atlanta.
It's a setup.
I know.
Look, dude,
Hey, let's bring back Deion Sanders. Let's bring back the mascot. Let's get the Dirty Bird out there for all. Let's bring back Little John. Let's bring back Freaknik since we all doing nostalgia trips to Atlanta. Hell, you know what, y'all? I love you. I love you. But right now, I am not in love with this product.
It's funny because last week you were in love with it.
I was. It was a complete
that makes WWE what they are now because they're getting that emotion out of you.
Pull that out of you. And almost, I swear, I felt like Fred on the fourth floor yelling at the TV.
And you know what's funny, too, is that there's a lot of people on the internet that mimic this exact feeling. And the WWE could not. Not that they don't care about what you feel, but it's more
That's
of
the
like,
point.
They want you to feel that way.
They're like,
That's
job
the
done.
point.
Job done
That's
well.
the craziest part about it is they want you to feel that way.
It frustrates me to the point where I have to keep watching.
Yeah.
It's like the sickest,
You're gonna
most
watch
toxic
it regardless.
relationship. It's like,
You know
John
what's
Cena
funny?
wasn't lying. This is a toxic
This
relationship.
is the only product besides the NFL where you will sit there and complain up and down the board all year long about how you will not be watching the Super Bowl. And
Still
the
watch it.
only thing you will be watching that Sunday is the
man,
Super
you
Bowl.
ain't lying. Preach.
I'm
Well,
just saying.
Before we go away from that, just looking at the brackets right now, Sammy is going to take on Orton and Cody
Against Jay.
Uso.
Oh, God.
And do you believe that Uso is going to kind of lose
I
to
hope
Cody
Jay
and then go
wins.
to the
God,
team
I
up with
hope-
his brother again?
I hope Jay wins so bad.
Let me tell you something about Cordarius Lamar Rhodes.
Oh, geez.
Okay. That man is not losing a thing.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If y'all don't
Cody
know,
Hogan?
Cody Rhodes is a hero
Cody
to
Hogan?
the urban community, to the wrestling community.
Cody
There-
Hogan. Yeah.
Yes. Hey, Hogan's got a flex.
So it's going to be setting up
like
Cody
Becky
against
Hogan.
Orton?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's the money match right there on the table.
Yeah.
Eventually, we were going
What
to get to
about
it.
Jay against Jim or Jay against Sammy?
Like I was
JB
saying,
Sammy would be sick.
like I was saying,
Yeah.
not
Really?
not to dismiss that, bro. But the money is on
The
the table.
bloodline, really
Yeah.
getting disregarded right
A
now.
little bit right now, bro. You know what I mean? Hey,
Disrespect.
yeah,
Do we all agree that's what is going to happen?
I think so.
Probably.
I think that would be the best thing for viewership, just to get a nice rating spike, and just to kind of either set up a future feud, which we know they have a long-standing history on each side between Cody and Randy. There's
a long history between Sammy and Jay.
Yeah, but
And Sammy's on the bridge of
Yeah,
becoming a heel with Karrion Kross. What better way to do that than to beat Jay?
I
we
think
don't need Jay taking
gonna
any more L's.
Keep saying it until it happens.
Look.
brother,
We don't need Jay taking any more L's because I don't want Rikishi calling and cussing us out like how he's been complaining about everything else that happens to his son.
Rikishi, feel free to call into the show at any
hey,
point
you
in time.
can-
I
you
do
can.
not listen to this fool.
You can
Anytime
but
you
I'm
would
just
like
saying,
to call in.
I don't want to hear that. Oh, why
I
y'all
do.
talking about my boy? Y'all talking about my boy. Hey,
I'm backing your boy. I don't give a damn.
we backing him, but at the same time, he don't need to take no L's. And I don't want to see, you know what I'm saying, Big Oos take an L.
You're saying he doesn't need to take an L,
He
and yet he's going to take an L to Cody.
I didn't say he wasn't gonna. I just said he didn't need to. You know what I'm saying?
But he's okay to take an L to Cody.
That's like Goldberg don't need to wrestle. Doesn't mean he's not gonna.
Whatever.
It's the same thing. I mean, we didn't need to see Hulk Hogan, but we got to see him. But with the women's,
Hogan got a flex.
Women's side, who's going to take that one? Or at least the championship of it?
For Queen of the Ring?
Yeah.
Ooh,
we got Roxanne and Jade.
I would hope Roxanne wins the whole thing.
Roxanne versus Jade is going to be an interesting match.
Yeah.
Though, that's
I'm worried about that.
Tom and Jerry match
Oh,
I've
right.
ever seen.
Right.
But honestly, I think somehow, some way, they're going to write it to where Jade gets over or Naomi interferes, and that's the way we skate Roxanne without either one of them taking a serious L. You know, the match will build, this or that, and then that'll give legs to Naomi losing that money in the briefcase whenever she tries to cash in on whomever, wherever, because you went and messed with Jade, so Jade's got to get her lick back, blah, 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 blah.
And Bliss and Asuka.
Oh, God, I got to go with Asuka as much as I love Alexa. I got to, because they'll probably get her to the semifinal, you know.
Now with Liv injured,
does
that set up her
and Kyrie?
And taking on,
well, from what I understand,
taking
damage
on EO.
control's done.
Yeah, they're done.
Damage
they
control
slowly
is
dissolve them behind the scenes. But
now I could see it with her and EO now, because now that whole promo with EO and Liv yesterday means zero.
Yeah. Hopefully this is just something like a 3-week sit-out situation. Nothing too serious. But with a dislocated shoulder, there's all kind of ligaments and joints and tendons. And it may, relocate. But hell, there's a lot of damage
back
in there.
in.
Knowing wrestlers, though, dude, she could be back in 2 weeks.
Because they'll work through injury.
At least on the mic.
Yeah. Like she may not be gone. That's why I'm saying, like, the Roxanne Perez thing, I'm not sure if they're going to go that route, just because it may not be that long of a turnaround injury wise.
And of course they're going to scare everyone and, put the report out yesterday or last night, she's going to miss SummerSlam and boo. And I heard the same thing about, Bret Hart's going to, interfere in the Goldberg match. Like, what?
Hey, hold on. What?
That was the reports this morning.
If he came out and gave him a sharpshooter at the end of this, that'd be amazing.
What?
But no, hold on.
Uncle Brett? No.
Are you talking about nostalgia?
Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't put it past WWE to throw a butt ton of money out there to Bret Hart and say, look, I know you hate me. Yes, Paul, I hate you.
This is probably the closest thing we'll ever get to Goldberg versus Bret again, though, because Gunther is the closest thing in the male roster to be that Bret Hart-esque wrestler.
Yeah, the technical guy that is very intense, the excellence of execution. I won't say he's the best there is, best there ever will be, because that would be infringement.
No, but that's basically what his character portrays.
Yeah, he is a technical genius when it comes to the ring, bro. I'm going to keep it real. The series he's had with Jey Uso over these past 18 months, especially that last one, we were excited about a freaking sleeper hold.
Yeah.
They were trading sleeper holds, man. Come on, dude. When was the last time any of us gave a crap about a rest hold? Thank you very much.
That's
your show. Go ahead, continue.
I'm not
because we're like, I believe to throw out some crazier stuff. I read this morning that the Cena thing is going to end because Bray Wyatt has him under control, and
I think they're going to factor that in at some point.
They need to. He's been stuck in
that
that
would be awesome.
dimension. Yeah,
it's also a great way to revive the popularity around the Wyatt Six.
Yes,
because it has died tremendously since the Bo Dallas injury. They're back now on SmackDown, which is the same show that John's on. And honestly, for John to go down the entire major parts of his career like that, including maybe a wrestling match with Rusev one last time too,
that would be awesome.
It would be a pretty cool thing to see, in my opinion. I mean, the next one up is CM Punk in Saudi Arabia, which was a huge rivalry in his career. I know it's boring to some,
for me,
but
yeah.
You have 5 more months of John Cena, and honestly, what better way to wrap up his career than let him literally wrap up every storyline he's ever been a part of?
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
I think he's deserved it. He definitely.
And then what? End it with the Rock.
Probably, Randy. Probably with either a match between him and Cody, where Cody takes the belt off of him, or something that revives the rivalry between him and Rock.
Well, all
and
I
Rock
can say
takes
is
off.
these next 3 weeks leading up to God, what do we have? Saturday night's main event. God, they're gonna be hell.
He's so pissed.
I am.
I'm loving it, dude.
No,
Dude,
see,
no,
here's the
I am
thing.
so
Here's the
pissed
thing.
about
Dude,
this
there's
with
so
Goldberg.
much talent,
What
man.
is he really
You know I
gonna
love
do?
You. You know I
Like,
love you, but you hear me out on
Yeah,
this.
but this
next
is
week
so
he's going
frustrating.
to be in here
Yeah.
loving the
I
product
love it.
again.
I hope.
Oh, they turned it around. I
I
see
hope.
what they're going with this.
I hope.
course.
I
It's
really
just like
hope.
I love you, but that's just
Yeah.
how the industry works. That's why
Yeah, I
we
know.
talk about it.
Triple
on
H
the
is
show.
doing well, and
Yeah.
Exactly.
2
This
weeks
is what
ago
I
he was
said
ready
2
to
weeks
fire
ago.
him.
Papa H, keep it up, man. Holla at your boy.
You still have yet to give me my apology to Papa H as well.
About what?
You know what we talked about last week.
Yeah. Hey, I ain't apologizing for nothing. I stand on that. See,
oh
But
gosh.
now it's okay.
I stand on
we
that.
had
That's
a
what I'm talking about.
we had
That's
a
what I'm talking
text
about.
in from a listener that's a wrestling fan said Bailey beats the man,
Oh yeah.
and Becky as a heel is annoying to me, like Seth freaking Rollins and his visionary.
She is running into Becky Hogan thing that the internet has created for her, and I'm not digging it's disingenuous. Like, we already know that's not how you are, and it makes me feel like the character itself is
I just wish
authentic.
they were matches between good wrestlers. I'm just gonna say it because my opinion, but I didn't like
get a Lyra Valkyria.
I didn't like
out
the
of
Valerie
these,
one.
please.
And what is she just gonna disappear now?
It looks like she's being moved towards the back because
As she
Becky
should.
and Bailey have more star power.
Yeah.
Becky and Bailey, when they get into a ring together, is gonna be.
It's gonna be a great match.
If-
Just
if-
stop
eventually
with the
there's-
mics.
Yeah, eventually there's gonna be a 3-way with those guys
Stephanie.
in that part of for the title. I just think like Lyra and Becky somehow are gonna end up teaming up. I feel it. I see it. It's oh, this is my idol, a real mother, this and that, and Becky's gonna try to talk some
the
some
heel
smack
side
and
into
go
it.
heel.
she's gonna heal her up because honestly, Lyra is a powerhouse. She's super athletic. She's just still finding herself. She's not everybody's cup of tea. She wasn't mine at first, but the more they've kind of brought her out of that whole bird lady thing and just showed her to be like just a competitor, just a tough competitor in general. Like, I think she can get over eventually. It's gonna take some time. It's not my bowl of soup, so to speak.
Look, man, all I'm saying is if she's going to be the next Becky Lynch, I need a lot more out of Lyra Valkyria.
That's a tall order to fill right there.
That's what they're trying to build her as.
Because honestly, Becky Lynch had a lot of organic things happen that I don't think could ever be recreated.
Look, brother, hear me out. Because I will be danged if I'm wrong about this, but if you really look at the roster that's been called up recently, especially Stephanie, Julia, Roxy,
oh God,
they are building these women to be the next Bailey, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, all across the line. Tiffany's the next Charlotte Flair. Rhea's just her own entity. She's going to be Rhea Ripley for the rest of her life, but
She needs to get her title.
Lyra Valkyria is built up by Triple H to essentially be the next man. And if you are going to be the next man, I need to see a lot more out of you. That's
I
just
need
my
to see you
personal
get
opinion.
punched in the nose by Nia Jax and shrug it off,
Or somebody of the same caliber.
like that. Like I'm saying, organic moments. Like whoa,
That's why I can't wait to see this Jade Cargo Roxanne Perez match because that's going to be so much fun.
Hey, expect me to come in the
Tom
day
and
after
Jerry
that.
all day, but at the same time, I am expecting something cool to happen out of that. Just the Prodigy against the absolute prototype. It's incredible.
Oh my God. I think that might have a touch of the Drizzlings, but only because it's Jade. And Jade is still I'm gonna keep it real. Roxanne is truly a prodigy, bro. You like the way she moves in the ring is so fluid. She can adapt to anything. It's a shame how much WWE has invested in Jade Cargill, which I think more so just goes into the cosmetic, the look, whatever. I haven't seen enough of her on this product in ring for me to be a stone cold believer, yes, pun intended, that I would honestly get behind in the women's division. I think she has a great look. She's athletic, but how far can that go before people are just still sitting on their butts in those seats going, you know what? She can wrestle, but does she want to be here? And you can tell the people that want to be there that they love it. I feel like she's just using it as another platform to launch her career into something else, which isn't wrong, but at least lie to us about it a little bit. have us
I
believe
believe she wants to do
have
that.
have us believe that you actually want to
Kinda.
wrestle and this just wasn't something you stumbled onto because hey, your husband's like a famous baseball player, whatever he is, you're a super fitness instructor influencer before you got on with AEW, and I haven't seen your skill set grow since you left AEW. Keep it real. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Now, hey, look, it's the product, it's how she's presented. She can't just say, hey, put me on TV every week, but it seems like when they do, it's the same thing.
It's funny you bring that up because I totally forgot she was married to Brandon Phillips.
There you go.
I totally forgot she was.
She ain't worried about this WWE money.
No, but again, I think she's grown. She's just you could tell she's being mentored by Mark Henry, who again, when you look at their movesets, are very
similar.
And honestly, Mark's moveset was never flashy. It was never something like that. It was just a big brute.
It's supposed to hurt.
Yeah, and honestly, I think she fits that profile very well. That's my personal opinion. But
who dropped the world's strongest slam last night in the middle of their? I forgot who it was. Oh, Bronson Reed.
Yeah,
it reminded me of Mark Henry because he did it so viciously that
it was Braun Breaker.
No,
he did one too.
He did one too.
Yeah, on the side of the ring.
Oh my God!
And that's Stephanie.
Did.
That definitely slam on the side of the ring.
That move is underrated as hell, man.
She's awesome.
Devil's Kiss or whatever she's calling it now.
That is awesome.
The internet's going crazy about it, but we've actually run out of time, my friend. We got to take a break and pay some bills.
Good, because I'll start
drink some water.
Yeah.
Go. Do a mantra or something.
Yeah,
I need you back in your happy ways next week.
Man.
All right.
Hey, Papa H, you're doing a good job, man. Just stop playing with my emotions, bro.
He's doing a good job at the first 30 minutes of this episode or this segment.
They playing with my emotions. I didn't come here to play with y'all today. If you think I did, I'm out.
Oh, good Lord. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. You can't play Kendrick over the entire. I mean, you can't play Kendrick. You play more Kendrick. But I just
Can't keep anyone happy right now.
I don't know. You trust me. You're keeping me happy. This is plenty happy with me. I'm more just mad because I can't listen to the whole song. I'm gonna have to listen to it on the way home now. This is the early bird special, though. We are on ESPN Bakersfield, and we got a Stanley Cup Game 6 for you tonight, live from Florida, as the Panthers look to wrap it up against the Oilers, leading 3-2. And
It's over.
you think it's over?
I think it's over.
I'm not sure. I have my belief that the Oilers
I'm
can
hoping
pull
I'm
this
wrong.
off.
Yeah.
I'm expecting some sort of great clip from Connor McDavid again, though. I need some absolutely just incredible speech from McDavid in the clubhouse today, because you need everything from the Oilers tonight. You need every bit of energy you could possibly get out of the Oilers tonight to pull off a Game 7. You're in Florida. I shouldn't say they're headed to Florida. They're already there. And honestly, it's going to be a rowdy crowd looking for their second Stanley Cup in 2 years. Well, second in 3 years, technically. And honestly, after watching the Rat Pack in the last game, it's going to be really hard to stop Marchand and the rest of these guys. And the newly named U.S. hockey team member of Matthew Tkachuk, along with 5 other Americans that were named yesterday, including his brother. So,
And Connor to the Canada's team.
yeah. Oh, everybody knew that one. I mean,
Well, yeah.
It's McJesus.
I mean,
It's Connor McJesus.
but has the Oilers announced who is playing goalie? Because I know this
So-
morning they were saying that they were up in the air and they haven't released it yet.
Been the talking point is that the head coach is yet to name the starting goalie, if it's going to be Pickard or Skinner. I think they're going to ride with Pickard just because he has had the moments of looking like the better goalie here. You look at Skinner's record against this team, or in this series against this team, he's let up multiple goals on 18, 19 shots in multiple games. He's had to get pulled in the third and fourth game of this series. And Pickard had that entire situation where he helped the Oilers come back in the overtime 2-2 win. Or I'm sorry, the overtime game where they were tied 2-2 and came back and won with Leon Draisaitl. I think you just ride the hot hand. I know Pickard had a rough game in Game 5, but at this point right now, start with him. And if at any point in time you think, okay, this might be a bad day, pull him and put Skinner in and see how it goes. Yeah, I think they both see the ice tonight. But right now, if I was a betting man, I'd say Pickard is more than likely the starting goalie for the Oilers tonight. But that's just me. But again, I'm a cash, so don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. Don't take everything I say, virtually.
Well, and if the Panthers pull it out, they'll be the first back-to-back finals in 40 years. Is that what it's saying?
In 40 years?
That's what it's saying. I don't think that's true, but that's ESPN reporting.
I mean,
I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Oilers can pull it out and we get a Game 7. I'm still going with OKC in basketball, but I would love for a Game 7 in that as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely is not 40 years. 4 years. The Tampa Bay Lightning did it in 2020 and 2021.
But 2 Game 7s? What are the odds of that?
I mean, and coming into these finals, we were really worried at least about one. I think the other one, we were kind of figuring this was going to be a pretty competitive series in the Stanley Cup final. But I have been very, very pleasantly surprised with what we've gotten in these playoffs from both sides of hockey and basketball. Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and complain. I would love to see the Oilers win tonight and force a Game 7 going back to Edmonton. Honestly, I'd love to see them win the whole dang thing and then or leave the Stanley in Canada for a year, since it's been since the year I was born since that's ever happened. So it's just a really cool story either way. I'm hoping it doesn't get wrapped up tonight. I think
the Stanley Cup ends tonight, and I think NBA will end on Thursday. But for entertainment reasons, I hope I'm wrong on both of them, so we get 2 Game 7s. But
we're close. If we get Game 6s on both, I guess it's okay. I don't know. Like we said in basketball, the first team that won 2 in a row was going to win the series. I stand by that statement. Whether they win in 6 or 7 does not matter. The Thunder are most likely going to win that series. And honestly, sitting in the same boat here when it comes to hockey, First team to win 2 in a row was most likely going to win the whole thing. That was the Panthers. And now we're sitting here staring at a game 6 tonight that could potentially be the last game of the season for both teams. So
I read that wrong. It was the NHL's first back-to-back finals rematch in 40 years, but
that makes sense.
I confirmed we are good. We'll have Sal and Isaac from 559 Fights tomorrow,
Fantastic.
recapping their fights over the weekend. We didn't get to go since it was Father's Day weekend. They had a lot of stuff on the plate. I wasn't even in town, but after this break, we're going to reach and get into some fantasy football and strategies.
Yes, because fantasy football is right around the corner. And I saw a story yesterday on Bleacher Report that made me start thinking about it, because they gave their top 5 strategies for people to adopt in 2025. For those of you who don't know, me and Sparky started our entire thing here as a fantasy football show. And we do plan to help you guys during the fantasy football season as well, along with some sponsors here pretty soon, hopefully.
We can't announce yet, but
yeah, we can't announce nothing yet. But we are going to get into that here after the break and try to help you guys a little early, we realize, but take these into account going into your fantasy football
well,
drafts.
if you're Greg Kerr, it's right on time then.
Well, I mean, again, Greg loves this stuff, man. Like there's not a lot of people I know that love fantasy football more than Greg Kerr. But we will talk about that and much more on the other side of the break before we get out of here. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Final segment of the day here on the Early Bird Special. Thanks for joining us. Of course, back here tomorrow, 7 to 9. As Sparky said, we'll have some fighters from the 559 fights rejoin us as Al and Isaac will be back in here, talk about what happened over the weekend at the Eagle Mountain Casino. But before we get out of here, as we told you guys, we are fantasy football fans here on this show, as hopefully a lot of you are as well. We have our own leagues that we jump in and out of. I know I'm in about 3 or 4. I know, Sparky, what are you in? About 7? Yeah. And
Lucky number 7.
it takes over our lives after a while. But at this point, there are strategies that everybody likes to go down when it comes to drafting your team. For those of you who are maybe thinking about getting into football or thinking about getting into fantasy football, personally, I always tell people, if you're thinking about getting into a sport, the best way to do so is to get into fantasy football or the fantasy of that sport. So if you want to get into football, get into fantasy football, basketball, fantasy basketball, et cetera, because it gives you a reason to get invested, not in just a central team, but multiple players on different teams, which means you will pay attention to the entire league. Because when you're going up against somebody who has Josh Allen and you have Lamar Jackson, not only are you watching the Baltimore and Bills games, you're also most likely watching everybody around them who's trying to play. So
especially when you're going into like a Sunday night game and you're down by 2 to 3 points,
exactly,
and you got this player and they got that player,
and somebody that you're hoping loses has Dak Prescott. So now you have to watch the Cowboy game to see if Dak Prescott's going to play well. It's a great way to engage the game itself and really just understand how it's played and what the value of each thing is. So to help you guys out a little bit early here with your fantasy football drafts, we are going to give you a handful of strategies that were given by Bleacher Report yesterday and give our thoughts on how much they work, if they'll work for you, and if there's any drawbacks or benefits. So the first one that I see here that they talk about is going with an elite quarterback early in your draft class. There's another one here that talks about taking one late. And when I mean late, like you're the last person in your fantasy football draft to take one. Sparky, what are your thoughts in terms of taking a quarterback early or late in a fantasy football draft?
I mean, I don't know what the definition of early is for them, but I mean, I put them in tiers in my thoughts, and I don't go by predictions or mock drafts, or, you can do all the homework you want. Even if you're starting in June, you can do all the planning and all of that, but it really, in my opinion, it goes with the flow of the draft. And I mean, if you're eyeballing a certain quarterback like this strategy is saying, and you're maybe the 8th pick and, you're in the bottom half of the draft and you see, the top 4 or 5 running backs go, you better snag a running back while you can, or you can always look at the stats, because that's what I'm sure that's what they're suggesting is when you look at fantasy at the end of the season, usually the quarterbacks, the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks are usually the ones that score the most.
Yeah.
But you're not going to win the league with just having the highest scored player.
And
I mean, you have to have a team. And I usually will kind of circle certain players on my strategy that, okay, this is going to be my sneaker. This is going to be the quarterback. When it comes to that, I go into the tiers and I try not to be the guy that snags a quarterback way too early. Trust me, I've learned from it, because there was years where I've taken, Mahomes a little bit too early, like last year. And, he didn't have a statistic type year that will win you a fantasy, league. And especially with a lot of these leagues are so competitive, you're going to want a number 1 running back before you snag a quarterback.
Well, I mean, okay, so they are taking this as taking the lead quarterback within the first 3 rounds. If you're playing with your friends, I'm going to tell you right now, every major quarterback is going to be gone probably in the first round or 2, because most people don't know how to thoroughly win leagues this way. As Sparky said, yes, the quarterback is usually the highest point getter on your team, but fantasy football isn't only about who can score the most. It's about how much you score compared to to everybody else within that position. So for a quarterback situation, drafting them early, at least in my opinion, is a little bit shaky unless you're going after an elite guy like what this is talking about, your Lamar Jacksons, Josh Allens, Joe Burrows, Jalen, the list goes on, Jaden Daniels. Like if you know for a fact they are a lock and you can get them in the first couple picks of your draft, especially if you are a late first rounder or an early second rounder, I've done it almost every year. I mean, I've gotten grief from these guys every time I play with them that I'll take Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson in the second or third round. And they're like, oh, it's a little too early. And then I end up winning the league. And then I never, it just happens that way. But the second best one, or the second strategy that I want to get to before we get out of here, because we're running out of time already, is we already brought up the allure of running backs in fantasy football. Fantasy football, really, if you're playing and you're new about this, you want to focus on getting arguably the best running back or one of the best running backs with some really solid receivers that can produce some points for you. There are 3 different strategies here. One saying no running backs, in which you will take a running back super late, including all the young guns and the people that potentially could be really good, but you have no idea. There's also one called a hero running back strategy, where you'll take a running back early, like say Saquon Barkley with your first pick, and then fill out the rest of your team with picks that you think would be better, what you need at running back at the end. I've done this once or twice. It works out sometimes.
Yeah.
And then the third one is the strategy in which Sparky just told you, jump on the running backs early, get nothing but good ones, and then stack your field and wait for every other position. Which one do you feel like works the best though?
I don't like any of them. I mean, really, I just try to play the draft. I play what is best available, just like if I was in a draft. But I've also learned, if I've done Barkley and I've got him way too early, even McCaffrey, especially I try to steer away from injured plagued players.
Well, the volatility rate of running backs is super high.
And with a lot of teams doing double backs and, you want, especially if you're going to go back to the quarterback situation, you want a quarterback like Josh Allen or Jalen that can run the ball and they run for touchdowns, because that's just double tapping it with you. But we'll definitely get into a lot more fantasy as we get closer.
Absolutely. We got plenty more strategies to share with you guys probably tomorrow. So join us back here 7 to 9 a.m. right here on ESPN Bakersfield, or go follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We're all over the place. Just look for our little icon there of the little cartoon bird and the worm. It's not really hard to miss. This has been the Early Bird Special, though. We got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.